Hi everyone, welcome to the API Manager Community Call 4th session. I am Amali Matharaarachchi. I'm a software engineer at WSO2 API Manager team. Today's main topic is on throttling in WSO2 API Manager. We will try to cover the main concepts as much as possible within a short period of time. Throttling allows you to control the number of successful hits to an API during a period of time. There are some common use cases of throttling: to protect your APIs from security attacks such as DOS attacks, to regulate traffic according to infrastructure availability, to make API or resource or application available to consume at different levels. This can be used for monetization purposes as well. Throttling in WSO2 API Manager can be abstracted to the following. It is based on a central policy server called Traffic Manager. Traffic Manager includes powerful Siddhi runtime-based decision engine. API Manager provides flexibility to design throttling policies based on request count, bandwidth, and etc. API Manager supports instantaneous request blocking as well. There are three main levels of throttling in API Manager, which are API or resource level throttling, subscription level, and application level throttling. It also supports backend throttling and burst controlling. The conditional throttling is supported on HTTP headers, query parameters, JWTs, and IPs. It provides the ability to provide custom policies and advanced policies. Blacklisting and whitelisting request is also supported. You can define a throttle policy in admin portal using throttle policy user interface. Then it will generate a Siddhi query. Then it will publish to the traffic manager. When an API request comes to the API gateway, it will go to multiple handlers. In the throttle handler, based on throttling decisions received from the traffic manager, API request will be validated with throttling. Let's see how throttle data publishing happens. Data required to make throttle decisions needs to be published to the traffic manager. Each gateway asynchronously publish data to the traffic manager. Then traffic manager is responsible of making throttling decisions. Let's talk about the traffic manager. Traffic manager is dedicated to API request event processing, throttle policy evaluation, and decision making through Siddhi runtime. So in a nutshell, the traffic manager executes throttle policies against data coming with each event, then takes decisions based on each throttle policy available in the system. If a particular request is throttled, then traffic manager sends the details to a JMS topic. All gateway nodes are subscribed to this JMS topic, so they get notified when a request is throttled out through JMS messages. Each gateway maintains the throttle data map to check whether a request is within the allocated quota. A gateway updates their throttle data map from the JMS topic data. If the request is not throttled, it will go forward in the path to the API backend. If it is throttled, error message will be sent as API response. Let's see some of the throttling policy types in API Manager. API or resource level throttle policies can be defined using Publisher portal. These can be attached to the entire API or to individual resources separately. This supports both request count and bandwidth based throttling. Advanced throttle policies can be defined based on IP address or IP range, query parameters, HTTP headers, or JWT claims. Multiple combinations of the above is also supported. Subscription level policies supports both request count and bandwidth based throttling. It supports burst controlling, and it has stop on quota reach API labels such as free, paid, which can be used for monetization. And it also supports custom attributes and role-based visibility. Burst control limits are enforced for subscription tiers in order to distribute the load across specified time period. It helps to protect the backend from traffic spikes. This can be controlled the number of requests for a given period of time. But this does not allow you to control the data bandwidth for a given period of time. Sudden spikes in usage, attacks from users can be handled via this. For an example, if you have a subscription tier that allows you to send 1000 requests per hour, using burst control, you can ensure that the application does not consume the full quota of 1000 requests within only 2 minutes. By setting a burst control limit allowing only a maximum of like 10 requests per minute. And admin portal allows you to create or update application policies or subscription policies. For an example, it allows you to edit a subscription tier with quota limits, burst control, policy flags, custom attributes, and role-based permissions. In Publisher portal, the created tier will appear in subscription tab if the user has the permission for the subscription tier. You can assign subscription tier for the API in Publisher portal. When creating an application in Dev portal, an application tier should be selected. If you enable the subscription tier for an API, that tier would appear when application is subscribing to the API. Maximum background throughput limits the total number of API calls through API Manager to handle physical limitation on capacity of the backend. This is available in API Publisher portal for sandbox and production endpoint separately. Another main feature is blacklisting. In other words, applying blocking conditions. API Manager supports blocking API invocations by user, API context, application, and IP address. These conditions will be applied globally for any call coming to the API gateway. Also, API Manager provides the flexibility to apply custom policies. It should be written in Siddhi query language, and they can be applied globally. This is how a custom rule can be applied from admin portal. So custom throttle policy have two major parts. One is Siddhi query and the other one is key template. Key template defines a unique key which needs to be equal to the throttle key in Siddhi query. So this is a summary of throttle policy levels in WSO2 API Manager. First, there is application level policy configuration. Then there is subscription level policy configuration with burst controlling. And then there is API level and resource level throttling. And again, finally, we have maximum backend throughput control as well. Today we glance over throttle concepts briefly. So we can conduct a more detailed session with demonstration at your request. And also we will have an open discussion session at the end of topics to discuss your questions also. So Rukshan, shall we move to the next topic then?
Yes, Amali. Let me share my screen.
Yes.
Yeah, everyone. This is about getting data for custom analytic dashboard from API Analytics. And this is the query we received in our last community call. So here we we added wiki page to our repository quickly. And let me share this with you. Hope you get the link. So in this wiki, we describe two approaches to getting analytics data. So the first one is analytics REST API, and the next one is publishing events to different endpoints. So the REST API is actually we have a store REST API in analytics, and in there you can give with the query, and in the query you can define what are the field you need, and you can also do some pre-processing, and then you will get the response in JSON format. So this is one of the examples. And also we have some documentation, so it will define what are the public APIs we have in analytics, and then so we have the documentation of this storage API, this one. So then you can refer this one as well. And also we have some detailed documentation on how to use this stored REST API. And next approach is to publishing event using our syncing feature. So in there you can maybe you can use the existing Siddhi application or a new Siddhi application, and you can publish new event to some another point. So example like HTTP. So in this wiki we discussed about log syncing, so that you can put your information to log file, and also we have support multiple syncing types. So those information is also mentioned in this documentation. So here we have. So you can refer this documentation and get broader details about getting analytics data from the API Manager Analytics. So if you have any concerns, please raise in our Q&A session. So then, thank you.
So this we got a question from community about Openshift resources, whether there are Openshift resources available for deploying API Manager in OpenShift. So let me share my screen and so I think whoever like familiar with deploying products or the application in Kubernetes, you can use there are two kinds basically, deployment and service. So you can use those deployment and service to deploy in Kubernetes. So well, in OpenShift also you can use same artifacts. Whatever we have released, you can do some minor changes and then deploy in OpenShift as well. But there are custom resources that are in OpenShift, that is OpenShift specific, like deployment config, route, so image stream. So we have started working on utilizing the OpenShift resources and take the best advantage from those artifacts. So then we have started this coming up with the OpenShift resources for specifically for API Manager 3.10, which will be released in few days. So this effort is already been started, and some of the team members are working on this. So hopefully we will be releasing this apart from Kubernetes artifacts. So the target is to let these artifacts run on the Docker image that we have released. So we have another like improvements to done for the Docker image, that then there are like permission issues when it comes to OpenShift because of the like the security constraint in OpenShift environment. So we'll be doing some improvements to the Docker image in the coming weeks as well. So that's about my update on OpenShift related artifacts. So probably we can give you a link like Kubernetes APM, like GitHub repo. Will be still we have not decided where to put those. So hopefully we'll let you know when those are ready. Okay. So if you have any questions on this, you can ask now or maybe on open discussion session.
Okay, if you have any questions, yeah, you can raise them. We will have an open discussion now.
So Prabodh, so I have a deployment in OpenShift. So so we have API Manager with micro gateway. So one question is, I'm thinking like once it tested in QA, how? So I know how can we migrate the other API Manager products, but what is the best way to migrate the micro gateway? Migrate means pushing to production from QA. So as an example, I have different route names, different service names in my QA. So prod will have different service names and different routes. So how can I post that? So in micro gateway, I have configured the key manager URLs and stuff like that using the service name. So what is the best way to do that?
Yes, Iram, like I think your micro gateway run on these Docker, like those are not, you don't have used any pipeline or something, like you have the already built Docker images, right?
Yes.
Yes, so I think there is a like micro gateway conf. I think someone from the micro gateway team can verify with it. I think as far as I know, like the conf support environment variables. So probably you can set those environment variables. So for example, key manage URL, you can set it as an environment variable. Then you can pass from the deployment then.
Okay, yeah.
So that's one option.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah. And another question is, so using the admin portal, we can create the throttling policies, right? So, what I haven't tried it. I'm just asking whether, I'm just want to confirm that it will work. So I can create the throttling policies from that and use it inside the micro gateway, right? So I don't need to write the Siddhi itself. So if I create a new policy from the admin console, it will create a Siddhi file, and I can use the same Siddhi file in micro gateway. Is it correct?
Yes, actually, the policies you created in API Manager. So when you try to create a in the micro gateway, the same policies will be applied in the micro gateway as well. But the artifacts will be different, but still it will the same approach.
You mean so create the policy and copy that created file inside the policies in the micro gateway folder, and we can point to that policy and use it, right?
Yes, actually, when you create in the project, it will automatically generate the policy files, but this file form will be different. Still, but it's a little bit different because we are using it. We are working with Ballerina, and yeah, it's also a file, so you can manage it and you can maybe copy and do the display.
So this centralized throttling for micro gateway. So we don't have that one with our current version, right? So I heard in the last, I think not maybe the last call. So you are planning to do with you are planning to work on that with micro gateway. So I can configure micro gateways with multiple traffic managers. Is it already in the current version or it's not released yet? So I can try the latest version.
Actually, that was in our plan, but I'm not sure whether it is implemented and is available in this release. Does anyone have any idea?
Actually, hi, Amiraj. Actually, it is not implemented in the current release. We have to implement it in the future release.
Okay. Oh, another one. So in our recent releases, API Manager 3.0 and 3.1, for single sign-on, we are creating the applications, the once we logged in, right, through the DCR. So for publisher and subscriber, when we log into that at the first time, it creates that applications, right? So so if I want to migrate from an old, so let's say I have already configured a single sign-on with IES for an old version of WSO2 publisher and store, and now if I want to migrate it, what is the best way to do that?
Yeah, I think the best way would be so you do the new deployment. So then because once you do the new deployment, there will be no single sign-on, and I think you should not be able to migrate that one as well. So what you have to do is once you do the once you're done with the deployment, you have to configure SSO with the IS again. But the configuration will be there will be less configuration, and because we have already created the service side in the IS side, we just have to set the federated authentication to them.
Yeah, one thing to add there is, as you know, we earlier had SAML-based SSO.
Yes.
So now in the 3.x release, what we have is OIDC-based SSO. Therefore, the implementation is different. There is therefore the configuration also be different.
Okay. So once I let's say if once I logged in, it will create the applications. So I can go there and find the URLs in there. So I just have to change it, right?
Yeah.
Is it okay? So in the IS side, do I have to create an IDP for those?
No. The thing is, 3 releases comes by default with SSO. You actually do not need IS for that.
So actually, we have other applications which is also using the single sign-on same feature. Something like you can log into the publisher and you can go to another application. It will be signed in. So
okay.
in that case,
in that case, you have option to point the publisher or store applications directly to the IS.
Okay. Okay.
But, by default, it's configured to connect to the local host. So you have option to pick the other one.
So if I'm using the latest API Manager 3.1, so I have to use the 5.10, right? Identity server. So is there anything restricting that if I'm using an old version of identity server with the latest version of API Manager, I won't see any issues, right?
We haven't tested that, so therefore we cannot guarantee there won't be any issues.
Okay, so yeah, I will try with the latest one and try to migrate. Yeah. Oh, sorry, another one. So the next release, can we expect that full API lifecycle with micro gateway? So something like deprecated and those kind of API lifecycle in supports in a micro gateway, or it's not planned for the next release as well?
So that is planned for the next release, not the coming one 3.10, but for the next release we'll be adding that. So it's like a integration with Kubernetes where you can deploy micro gateways in Kubernetes. So when you create an API, it pushes and build the micro gateway and run it in Kubernetes. So that will add it in the future.
Okay, but currently we can do that, right? In Kubernetes, we can deploy the micro gateway, but only the API lifecycle features are not available, I think. So that will be added to the current one. So it will work as it works now, right?
Yes, so now if we take, those are now decoupled, but we have to couple it.
Okay, thank you, Bogdu.
So our next session will be on April 16th. Hope to see you all again. If you have any suggestions, please add it to this form. You can be in touch with API Manager community with Slack, Twitter, and email. We will upload this session to the YouTube as well. Thank you all. Thank you for joining us.